We continue now at the top of Daf Samach Aleph Amud Aleph in Meseches Nazir. This is Daf 61a. The Gemara is continuing to discuss why it is that a Nazir who's also Mitzorah can't do one shaving to count for both. Tani Rabbi Chia taught, Zeh lifnei bias mayim, v'zeh la'achar bias mayim. This one is shaving before immersing in water, and this one is shaving after immersing in water. Zeh lifnei zrikas damim. This one is immersing before the sprinkling of the blood. V'zeh la'achar zrikas damim. And this one is immersing after the sprinkling of the blood. And Rashi explains, Tani Rabbi Chia, Tamei v'hu mitzorah. Let's say he's a Nazir who's Tamei and he's a Mitzorah. So ein olin lo lakan or lakan. He can't do one shaving for both. Lefisha zeh lifnei bias mayim v'zeh liachar bias mayim. Because in one case, again, he's doing the shaving before the immersing in the water, and in the other case, it's after the immersing in the water. And Nazir tar v'hu mitzorah nami, in the case where he's a pure Nazir and a Mitzorah, ein olin lo lakan or lakan. There it can't count one shaving for both. Shem mitzorah megaleach lifnei zrika, because the Mitzorah, he shaves before the sprinkling of the blood. V'nazir tar la'achar zrikas damim, and the pure Nazir, he shaves after the sprinkling of the blood, and that follows along the same lines of the Gemara at the end of the previous Amud. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Shetiglachas hanega v'chulu. The Mishnah was saying in a situation where you have a Nazir who it's a suffix if he's Tamei Meis, and it's a suffix if he's a Mitzorah, so he does 4 shavings because of the doubt, and the Mishnah had explained the reason for this is because a Nazir is allowed to shave if he knows for certain he's a Mitzorah, even though in general a Nazir is not allowed to shave. But if you have a situation of a doubt, maybe he's a Mitzorah, so in that situation he's not allowed to shave. There's a prohibition in general against a Nazir shaving. And the Gemara says, Boy Rami Bar Chama asks, Hani Arba Tiglachios, these 4 shavings, the Ka'amar, which we're speaking about in the Mishnah, Mishum Mitzvah, are they done because of a mitzvah? Or Mishum Avure Seir Tamor, or is it really just to remove the hair in terms of the fact that he is a Nazir Tameh and he has to remove that hair? Rashi explains, Boy Rami Bar Chama Hani Arba Tiglachios, Tekamar Alo Megaleach Dalet Tiglachios. Again, it says that he shaves 4 times. Mi Amar Mishum Mitzvah Isnu, is this because of the mitzvah of shaving? Mi Manavshach, meaning to say Mi Manavshach, there's a mitzvah involved over here with every single one. Tarti Kamaisi Mishum Tarti Tiglachios Bitzaras, like we said when we explained the Mishnah, the first 2 shavings end up being because of the 2 shavings that a person needs to do for being a Mitzorah. Uchlishis Mishum Tumah, then the 3rd one is because of Nazir Tameh, or Revius Mishum Nazir de Tahara, and the 4th one is the concluding shaving, the concluding of a Nazir impurity, Vekulan Betar, and they're all done with a razor. That the Gemara is going to say is the nafkamina over here. Do they all need to be done with a razor? Odilma Mishum Yivure Seir Tumah. The other possibility is you have to remove the hair of Tumah. Isnu, that's the reason. Ve'afilu Maver La Benosha Shaper Dami. Even let's say you use some kind of a lotion that removes the hair, that would also be effective. And the Gemara explains the nafkamina between the 2 sides. Lemay nafkamina, again, what is the practical difference if we say you're doing it as a mitzvah or doing it to remove the hair of tumah, meaning to say a nazirus of tumah? And the Gemara says the nafkamina is lavure benosha. The nafkamina is, are you allowed to move it again with some kind of a cream that removes the hair, or do you need to use a razor? If you say the reason is because of a mitzvah to shave, so lavure benosha, you can't use a cream in that situation to remove the hair. But if you say it's to remove the hair of tumah, afilu sachya nashanami, even if you use a cream to remove the hair, that would also be effective. And the Gemara says, Mai, so what is the answer to this question? Is it a mitzvah or not? Amar Rava says, Tashma, come here a proof from the language of our Mishnah, Megaleach Arba Tiglachios, it says he shaves 4 shavings. Isalka Daitach Mishum Yivure Seir Tumah, if you think the reason is just to remove the hair of Tumah, Afilu B'shalosh Nami Sagile, it should be enough just with 3. So Shma Mina Mishum Mitzvah, Shma Mina, you see that they are done because of a mitzvah, and the Gemara says, indeed, you do see that that is the case. Rashi explains, V'salka daitach mishum yivurei seir tumah. If the reason for shaving is because you're just removing the hair of tumah, hu de megaleach, that's why he's shaving. So if that's the case, afilu begimel teglachios nami sagya. The way Rashi understands the Gemara is saying then just 3 shavings would be enough. Tekevan deshtei teglachios shebe mitzorah, because once you do the 2 shavings of mitzorah, ushlishes shel nazir tamei, and the 3rd one of nazir tamei ika yivurei seir tumah. Now you've removed the hair of tumah. V'hai dehadr megaleach beteglachas revius. And now, when you're coming along and shaving that 4th time, haleka ivure seir tumah, there is no removal of the hair of tumah. V'amay megaleach, so why would he need to shave in that case? Elalav shmamina, rather it must be the reason is tekulu isnu mishum mitzvah lagalech, that really they all exist because there's a mitzvah to shave. Arba tiglachios, you need to shave 4 shavings. Shmamina, that's what you see from the language of the Mishnah. In other words, the way that Rashi explains the Gemara is actually saying that maybe the shavings are all being done to remove the hair of tumah, but that's actually taken care of after 3 shavings. You would not need a 4th. The fact that you need 4 shows that they're really being done because of a mitzvah. And Tosas explained, Tashma, the Gemara says, Kam megaleach arba tiklachios shma mina misham mitzvah shma mina. He shaves 4 shavings. You see that it's because of a mitzvah. Yesh mefarshim dedayik midekolal osam biyachad. So some say that the explanation of the Gemara is, since we're putting all 4 together in one phrase, imkein dami hadadi, therefore it must be that they're all similar to one another. V'kulhu betar af hashlishis, and they're all done with a razor, even the 3rd. Now the way Tosas is learning is the whole question of the Gemara was really only on the 3rd shaving, because the 3rd shaving was done because of the Nazirus Betumah, and so the question was maybe that shaving doesn't need a razor, but since they're all grouped together, they all need a razor, even the 3rd one. Sheila Safek Nazir Tameh, even the 3rd one that's for Safek Nazir Tameh, the Nazirus Betumah, even that one needs a razor. In other words, by the other ones for Mitzora and for the concluding shaving of a Nazir Betara, of course you need a razor, that we understand. The only question of the Gemara was, when a Nazir shaves because of Tumah, does that require a razor? And the proof is again that since they're all grouped together, Gam Yesh Besvarim Kasav, there's another girsa in the Gemaras, and this is the girsa that we have, Visalka Daitach Mishum Ivurei Tumah, that if you think the reason for, and again Tosas L'Shitasa, the reason for the 3rd shaving is just to remove the hair of Tumah, so Afila Begimel Nami Sagi, so even 3 shavings with a razor would be enough. Again, that 3rd shaving would not require a razor. But Tosas asks, V'kashalam, but it's difficult to us. My maisi, what kind of proof is being brought? But isn't it true that by all 4 of the shavings, there really is a suffix? It's not for sure that that 3rd one is done because of the suffix Nazir Tameh. There's a suffix why we're shaving there. Ibn Mitzora, O Ben Nazir Tar, Afishlishis. You have a suffix in terms of whether you're shaving because of Mitzora, or maybe because he's a pure Nazir, and that's true even on the 3rd shaving. And so Tosas answer, V'shema Yeshlam, or maybe we can answer and explain the Gemara as follows. The Afagav de V'tiglacha Shlishis Ikal Isfuke, even though there is a suffix on that 3rd shaving, that there's a doubt, Tiglachas bin Nazir Tar, Shitzri Tar, that maybe you're shaving, maybe he's a pure Nazir, and it requires a razor, Mikol Makom, nevertheless, Im Lo Haisa Tiglachas Tumah Tzri Tar, it could be, says Tosas, that let's say the shaving for Tumah did not require a razor, Mishum Safik the Nazir Tar, just because you have a doubt the 3rd time, maybe he's a Nazir Tar, Lo Yatzarach Giluach, you still wouldn't need a razor in that situation. That might be what the Gemara is saying, Sharei Adayin Lo Hayamutter Lishtos B'yayin, because at this point in time, he's still not allowed to drink wine. He won't be able to drink wine until the 4th shaving, and so maybe that's what the Gemara means, the fact that all 4 of them require a razor. Answer our question, again, according to Tosas, the question was, does a Nazir Tameh, does his shaving require a razor? And it seems to be yes, the shaving of the Nazir Tameh does require a razor. Hadron Aloch Shnei Nazirim, we will return to you, Parak Shnei Nazirim. This is the end of the 8th Parak of Meseches Nazir. If you're enjoying these videos and this channel, please like, share, and subscribe, and please take a look at the description box below to see how you can support this channel. And we will now begin the 9th Parak of Meseches Nazir. And the Mishnah says, Hakusim ein lahem Nazirus, the Kus refers to Ovdei Kochavim, idol worshippers, non-Jews. They have no laws of Nazirus. Noshim va'avadim, when it comes to women and slaves. Yesh lahen Nazirus, there is Nazirus in that situation. Chomer b'noshim mi be'avadim, and there's a stringency of women over slaves. Shu kofes avdu, because a master is able to force his slave to violate the Nazirus. V'eno kofes ishto, but a husband is not able to force his wife to violate her Nazirus. And the Gemara says, Katani hakusim ein lahem Nazirus. It says in the Mishnah that the idol worshippers, there is no Nazirus. Minohani mili. From where do we know that a non-Jew does not have Nazirus? If a non-Jew takes a vow of Nazirus, he is going to be allowed to shave, he's going to be allowed to drink wine, he'll be allowed to be metame lemesim. How do we know that that is the case? And the Gemara says, the Tanu Rabbanon, because the rabbis taught, Daber el B'nai Yisrael, it says when it talks about Nazirus, it talks about B'nai Yisrael, and we darshan v'lo la'ovdei kochavim, it refers to the B'nai Yisrael, and not to the ovdei kochavim, not to the idol worshippers. Rashi over here says, the Tanu Rabbanon, Daber el B'nai Yisrael, Ish o isha kiyafli lindor neder nazir. It says a man or a woman, he makes this neder to be a nazir, and then it says b'nei Yisrael nodrin ve'eno of dekochavim nodrin. Again, it's daber b'nei Yisrael, that the b'nei Yisrael, they're the ones that take this vow, and the idol worshippers do not take this vow. That we learn from daber b'nei Yisrael. V'yamarta aleim. Then the pasuk says v'yamarta aleim l'rabos eso avodim. That comes to include the avodim, to include the slaves. The Gemara says lama likra. What do we need a pasuk to include the avodim? Ha'amrin kol mitzvah shoisha chayeves ba eved chayev. But don't we say that any mitzvah that a woman is chayev in, so to an eved is chayev in? Amar Rava, so Rava says no, shani yach. It's different over here. The Amar kra lesor isor al nafsho. It says when it talks about nedarim in general, it uses the word nafsho, and we understand that to mean b'misha nafsho kanuya lo. The nedarim in general apply only to somebody whose soul is owned by himself. Yatsa eved, that excludes an eved she'ein nafsho kanuya lo, that his soul is not acquired by himself. So hoil ve nafsho kanuya lo, since his nefesh is not kanuya lo, so emagabe nazir nami lo. So I might have said that also when it comes to nazirus, which is also a type of vow, maybe the eved is not included in nazirus, kamash malon. And so that's why the pasuk has to teach us. That's why the pasuk says v'yamarta aleim l'rabos es avodim. It comes to include the avodim in the halachas of nazirus. And the Gemara says, Amar Mar, the master said, Dabrel b'nei Yisrael v'lo la'ovdei kochavim, speak to b'nei Yisrael and not to the non-Jews. V'chol echad dechsiv Yisrael ovdei kochavim lo. Is this really true? Anytime it says Yisrael, it means to say not the idol worshippers, not the non-Jews. V'agabe arochin, but what about by arochin? Dechsiv, that the pasuk over there also says that's when a person donates a particular value to the Beis HaMikdash. It says Dabrel b'nei Yisrael. It says speak to the b'nei Yisrael. V'tanya, we learned in a brayso, b'nei Yisrael ma'arichin v'ein ovdei kochavim ma'arichin. It says that the Jews, they're able to give, to donate erech to the Beis HaMikdash. That's when a person says, again, erechi olai, my value is upon me to donate it to the Beis HaMikdash, and the non-Jews are not able to do that. But yachol lo yuhu ne'erachin. Now I might think that, let's say a Jew would give the erech of a non-Jew, maybe that wouldn't be effective either. Talmud lo marish, that's what the pasuk says, ish, that the non-Jews are included at some level. And so the Gemara is really asking over here also, when it comes to Nazir, maybe we should say that the non-Jews are included at some level. But the Gemara says, no, they're not included at all in Nazirus. Shani Hacha, it's different over here. The Amar Krakas, the pasuk says, Liaviv u'li'imo lo yitam. It talks about the fact that a Nazir cannot become tameh to his father and to his mother. And we understand that to mean, b'misha yesh lo av. It's only somebody who has a father. Yatsa ovid kochavim she'ein lo av. And it excludes an ovid kochavim, a non-Jew. He does not have a father. That doesn't mean in biological terms, but it means halachically he's not considered to have a father. And the Gemara says, Lamai, for what? What do you mean that halachically an Ovid Kochavim doesn't have a father? If you say that we're talking about inheritance, that maybe a non-Jew doesn't inherit his father, but that's not true. But Rabbi Chia bar Avin said that Rabbi Yochanan said, Ovid Kochavim Yorish Esaviv, that a non-Jew does inherit his father, Dvar Torah, and that's from the Torah. Shenamar, like the pasuk says, Ki Yerusha le'Esav nasati esar Seir. It says the Mount Seir was given as an inheritance to Esav. It sounds like there is inheritance by Ovid Kochavim. So Ela b'mi shemuzar al kibud aviv. Rather, what we mean to say is the Nazirus only applies to somebody who is warned to honor his father, and the mitzvah of kibud av does not apply to non-Jews. But the Gemara says, Michsiv kabed avicha gabe Nazir. Is there any connection? Does it say kabed avicha by Nazir? Why are we connecting those two mitzvahs? And so the Gemara instead says, Ella, rather, the reason why the non-Jews are excluded is because Amar Kra, the pasuk says, La'aviv u'li'imo lo yitama, he can't become tummy to his father and his mother. B'mi sheyesh lo tumah. We're talking about people who have what's relevant to them, the halachas of tumah. Those halachas are not relevant to non-Jews, and that's why they are not included in the Nazirus. We will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Samech Aleph Amud Beis.